All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast real estate tip. And today I'm here to talk to you about how to set 4 listing appointments in one single day. Now, initially, you might be thinking to yourself, oh man, that doesn't sound possible. That must be too good to be true. I can't go out there and do that. Look, I'm here to tell you it's 100% possible. You 100% can. And I'm going to break down and do a deep dive today to ensure that you become an appointment setting machine, a lead conversion machine. You become a sales master, right? So we're going to go deep into this. Now, what inspired me to create this topic for today's podcast is actually a message that I just received from one of my coaching clients. His name is Brandon, and he posted this inside of our coaching client private Facebook group. So I had a Facebook group with myself and all my private coaching clients. That way we can mastermind together and they can get daily support from me and whatnot there. So here's what he just posted. I'm going to read it to you. So this is back on the phones today using Joshua Smith's script. I booked 4 listing appointments today through 7+ day old expireds. That is a record for me with only 188 total dials. Now, just to put that into context, if we look at your averaged seasoned realtor, so not your brand new realtor that's green, that's had 0 real estate experience or 0 sales experience. We're talking about your average seasoned realtor that's hitting the phones, and whether that be prospecting or lead follow-up with inbound leads. But when we break these numbers on average, Brandon's numbers that he just received here are over 4x the average seasoned realtor's numbers. So how do you increase your results by over 4x? So that way you can get done what that takes maybe other agents 4 days or a week or longer to go out there and do. So how can you go out there and set 4+ listing appointments each and every day? How can you go out there and get 4x the results of what you are getting today? This is what we're here to do, a deep dive breakdown here in this podcast here today. Now, I want you to know and understand, this is not about expireds, even though that's the example here that inspired this podcast today. And I'm going to break, down the 2 primary skill sets, that Brandon got honed in on, and the things that allowed him to get the best results that he's ever gotten, because I want to make sure that you gain from that. So in that example, I'll go a little bit more specific into expires. But what I want you to know and understand, this applies regardless of whatever lead gen source. This is we're just talking about sales here. We're talking about human behavior, human beings, overall sales. I don't care if you're an agent, team leader, broker owner. I don't care if you're going after buyers, sellers, agent recruits. This doesn't matter. Even if you're in another industry, all of these things apply. So I wanted to just, hit that point because I know not all of you want to go after expireds, right? So I don't want you to think that, oh shit, this is just about expireds. I'm going to peace out right now. Like if you want to become a converting machine and get 4x the results that you're used to getting right now, we're going to break that down here in this podcast today. Now, the first thing I want to hit on right here is this myth that we've all been sold. So in our industry, other industries, I think just in life, we're sold this myth that if you just work hard and if you are just consistent, you will go out there and create success. And that is absolute and utter bullshit. That is a half truth that is missing an essential, extremely important 50% of the equation. That's what a half truth is, right? It's only giving you half of the truth, right? So when people follow this half truth, it puts them into a very dangerous place. Look, I don't care how hard you're working and how consistent you are working. If you are working hard and consistently on the wrong shit, you're not going to get the correct results that you want, right? Yes, I'm not here to say that hard work doesn't matter and consistency doesn't matter. They both do, right? But it's about working hard and being consistent on the right actions. A saying that I love, I don't know who originally said it. I wish that I did so I could give them credit for it. But a saying that I always think about that I love is, it doesn't matter how hard you are running. If you are running east, chasing the sunset, you are never going to see it. The sunset's in the west, not the east, right? So then, you could be on a dead-on freaking sprint, running for your life as hard as you possibly can. If you're running in the wrong direction, you're never going to see it, right? And just like, I don't know, a road trip, if I want to get to this destination, but I'm taking the wrong directions, if I'm taking the wrong roads, I'm not going to get there, right? So we got to make sure that you're running in the right direction. And then from there, hey, what if you don't even need to run? What if you could just walk? right? What if you don't need to sprint? What if you don't need to run? Maybe you just got to jog. Maybe you just got to fast walk. Throughout my whole entire career, you guys, I've, and most of you know this, and I'm not saying this to brag, but just to articulate the point here. I've been doing this in real estate, sales at a high level. Since 2005, so over 18 years, quickly became one of the top and still continue to be in the top 1% of realtors and team leaders worldwide. Over 7,000 home sales. I've made over 45 million in commissions in this industry. This industry's changed every aspect of my life. And with, all the homes that I've sold and continue to sell, with all the leads that I generate, look, I have never spent more than 2 hours total on the phone a day. I've never had to do it. So if I can go out there and get done in 1 or 2 hours of intentional right effort, still working hard in that time and consistent. And there's other things that we got to do, fulfill clients and, all of that stuff, right? Like we got to go out there and show properties and meet with clients and negotiate deals. And there's more than just lead gen and lead follow-up, right? But if I can get done in 1 or 2 hours, what takes my competitors 10 hours to do, I'm going to pick that path. Right. And this is just something that I learned early on. It wasn't like I was just born with these skills, you just eventually learn these. I mean, I got into sales at the age of 14. So, I have family owned business. My parents owned and operated. So I started selling for them at the age of 14. I sucked at it in the beginning. But I quickly realized I got to go out there and acquire some skill sets. And I was exposed to great training and great mentors, so the blessing that I had was 9 years of great sales experience, great sales training before I ever got into real estate. So when people hear my overall results that I got, 48 deals my first year, 103 my second, and was making over $1 million a year, by the time I hit my 4th year in this business, and have ever since. Well, they don't realize the 9 years of foundation and sucking and learning that I had before, I got into real estate. So that's really important. Just to kind of lay that framework and that context with that, but I learned through that process of dude, look, if I just get 4x better at my skill sets, okay, well then I can get 4x results in the same amount of time, or get the same results working 4x less, right? Whichever path that you want to go down. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions here. And these are, first one's kind of a silly question, but it's important. So first question is this. If it was 100% possible and you 100% could, so again, 100% possible. So just think about this. If it's 100% possible, and you could 4x your income over the next 12 months, would you? And that's kind of a rhetorical question. I'm guessing that you're going to say yes to that. Another way of framing that is, if you could 4x what is in your bank account right now, would you? Over the next 12 months, if you could just 4x that, hell yes. Yeah, right? Okay, so then the secondary question to that is, okay, in order to do that, are you able and or willing to 4x the amount of hours that you are working? So my guess to that, the answer that you're answering that question is no or hell no. Right? Let's just assume that you're working 40 hours a week. I know some of you are working more, some of you are working less, but let's just assume you're working 40 hours a week. Okay, 4xing your work hours is not even a possibility. They're 168 hours in a week. That would make you working 160 hours a week. So that would be you getting, essentially 1 hour and 10 or 1 hour and 10 minutes of sleep a night. You'd probably fucking die, right? You can't be that sleep deprived. It's not, it's an impossibility. So then how can you 4x your income? And what is the quickest way to go out there and 4x your income? Is to 4x your overall skill set. And that's what we're breaking down today. And very specifically, I'm going to get into 2 primary skills that you need to go out there that will make the biggest overall impact so you can go out there and 4x your overall results. And this is, going through again what Brandon did and initially what I did and continue to do in my business to go out there and get much better results than everybody else, right? It's not about doing more. It's about just getting better. Yeah, right. When you get better and you have these skill sets acquired, and we are now in a market where skill sets 100% fucking matter, right? This market right now, people that don't have the right skill sets are getting eaten alive. And going to continue to, this winter that we've stepped into, if you think of, winter meaning, this down economy that we've stepped into, it's going to get much worse before it gets better. I'm not here to fear porn, not here to scare, right? For those that acquire the right skills, this is going to be their time to go out there and shine, and time to go out there and thrive, right? But we got to make sure we're honing in on these right skills. All right, so let's break down these right skills. So again, there's kind of 2 primary focuses that we're going to have today. when it comes to these skills to go out there and acquire. Okay, so the first one is your ability to read the given market and identify your ideal client and or clients in that given market. I know it's a little bit of a mouthful, so let me unpack that. Look, if you are in this industry for a long enough period of time, you're going to have, they're going to have up markets, you're going to have down markets, everything in between, booms, busts, crashes, and again, everything in between. So you need to be able, if you want to continue to grow and scale your income, you got to develop the skill set of being able to read the overall markets. One of the reasons that so many people, and there's really only two reasons that people are struggling in this market right now, is because, and we're going to break these down here today, but it's their inability to read the market. So they're doing shit that they did in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, maybe even early 2022, and expecting the same result. Look, the market has shifted and changed. You're not going to get, you got to take different actions based on the given markets. So let's go a little bit further into this. So your ability to go out there and read markets and identify your ideal clients. Okay, so the first thing with this is kind of a setting your mental frame, your own personal mental frame, so you can think about this in the correct way and spot and identify these opportunities. All right, so it's operating from the personal philosophy that there is no such thing as a good market. There is no such thing as a bad market. The market is always good for somebody. Your job as a real estate professional is to identify whom the market is good for and position your focus time, energy, marketing, prospecting time, and energy to whom the market is good for, right? So another way of looking at this is, okay, who's buying? Your ability to be able to identify who is buying, who is selling, why are they buying, why are they selling, where are they going, where are they coming from, what are they buying, what are they selling, right? So then I can sit there and identify, again, whom is this current climate good for based on the market conditions that we are in. So, I've been doing this in Phoenix, Arizona now is where, I'm located for my real estate business, right? So I've been doing this now 18 years. And now my niche and specialty, when I look at this, and again, I'm just going to go through and walk you through my personal frameworks and philosophies around this stuff. It might be different. You might have different niches. You might have different things, but that way I'm just giving you these as examples. So then you can apply this to your own business and your own market. So my specialty is residential real estate in the greater Phoenix metropolitan market, right? So if you look at Phoenix Metro, which is made of about 30 some cities, my focus is residential real estate within those areas or the cities within Phoenix Metro that we really choose to focus on, right? But my job is to become a residential real estate specialist. Residential real estate is my product, right? So I'm going to get to know it. My job is to move that product, right? So, or help my clients move that product. That is the one control that has stayed the same. The one thing, if you don't know science, the control and the variable, right? The controls, changing or staying the same. The variables shifting and changing, but that is the one thing that has always stayed the same over my 18 plus years and over 7,000 plus home sales have been the real estate in this geographical location. Okay, so then from there, though, what does change, the actual variable, and what has shifted and changed over this span of time that I've been in this industry is whom is buying or selling that real estate. I've had times where it's been traditional buyers and sellers, or it's been investors, or it's been REO, or short sale, or institutional clients, or a combination of all of them, when one's hot, one's usually colder, and, right? So whom the market is good for, meaning who is transacting in the product that I specialize in, has been the one thing that has and will continue to shift and change over time. Now you're going to have times, let's just say from 2012-ish, 13 till about, 2022 or 21, where okay, you'll go through a long period where the ideal clients are the same. Right? So you're going to have, it doesn't mean that this is changing year by year, but you're going to also have times where it is changing fast, right? So we need to identify this. We need to understand this, right? So your job is to be able to identify, whom the current market is good for, and then pivot and shift your marketing, prospecting, your overall efforts, your messaging, your focus, your energy and attention to whom the market is currently good for, meaning who's buying, who's selling, what are they buying, what are they selling, where are they coming from, where are they going, what are they buying, what are they selling, and so forth. Like I've had different times in my career where, hey, this particular product, there's some homes today that I'm selling for, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 8 years ago, even 10 years ago, 8 years ago, right? Even maybe as 6, 7 years ago, was a first time buyer product in my market. Now today, it ain't, right? So, that changes, right? So you got to understand that your ideal client and or ideal clients will shift and change with the overall market, can and will. And if you're in this career for a long enough period of time, you're going to have ideal clients that are shifting and changing based on the market. So skill set number one at a very high level is you have to be able to identify the best ideal client and or clients that have the highest probability of transacting in this given market. So examples of this in today's market that we are in right now. What is the market that we are in right now? Just to lay this out. Okay, number one, most expensive most unaffordable real estate market to ever exist in U.S. recorded history. Number two, the most expensive time to be alive as a U.S. consumer, or just a U.S. citizen, I should say, in U.S. history. Number three, the most competitive real estate landscape, most competitive market that we've ever had. Meaning, if we factor in the number of listings versus number of sales versus active listing agents, versus active actual agents, right? We've never seen this type of a skewed competitive landscape. So then from there, this market is about those that need to buy, that need to sell, not just a want. And same thing like if I'm going after agent recruits, because all this stuff applies to them too. Like for agents I'm recruiting right now, I don't need just uncommitted and people that are just interested. I need agents that need to succeed in this market right now, right? I don't want just a bunch of agents that are going to drop out of this industry anyway as this market gets more challenging, right? So this is a time of needs, not wants. You got 2/3 of sellers out there that are in mortgages that are 4% or lower, on their properties. There's a lot of people that want to sell, that want to buy, but they're unable or unwilling to in this marketplace, right? So then from there, examples of ideal clients that are good right now. We'll stay on the listing side just for these examples right here, expireds, like the example that, we talked about earlier with Brandon. Expireds, these are people that have raised their hand. They're like, hey, we want to sell. Maybe we need to sell. They've already raised their hand that they've given it a shot. They've tried. That's a hot source really for any. Expires are great for any regardless of the marketplace in most cases, right? FSBOs. Now these are both the highly competitive niches. Highly competitive niches can still be great if you have the right skills. But again, skills matter, right? So this is what we're here to talk about today of what to do, what to say, when to say it, how to say it, all of these different things, and how you can go out there. Today I'm going to walk you through what skills you need to go out there and master so you can master this shit and again become a sales and conversion machine. Then from there in this market, NODs, great niche right now, right? So NODs are notice of defaults. You got 84 million mortgage holders, 12 million HELOCs on residential real estate right now, 2.8% of those roughly that are in default status right now. So about 3 million homeowners that are in default status right now, and this is growing month over month. The average consumer is just absolutely getting crushed, right? Now, if you're going to go after NODs, my recommendation is to also learn how to do short sales, because there's a contingent of these that are also in short sale. You got some that are equity sales, some of these are, but it's about 50-50, so, you got to make sure that you understand and master that process too, if you're going to go after NODs. But luckily, I've mastered that and teach my agents and my coaching clients how to master short sales. So we got to be versed in any market, up markets, down markets. We got to know how to adapt, because again, my job is just to move real estate regardless of the marketplace. So I got to know how to move that real estate regardless of the marketplace. Like if I'm great in sellers markets, great in buyer markets, great in boom markets, great in bust markets. I know how I know traditional sales. I know how to service investors and acquire investors. I know REO. I know short sales. These are all things we got to be well versed, right? Because my product is residential real estate. Any given market, I got to know how to move my product based on what's going on with the overall economy and the overall market. So skill set number two. So those are just two examples, and there's a bunch of others, but just to give examples. So skill set number two, you must master what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and become an amazing problem solver overall. So this can sound like a lot like scripts, right? But it's deeper than just scripts. Look, I can just give you a script. It's not gonna do you any good. It's like when I was a personal trainer and people were like, oh, dude, can you just, write me up a workout program and send it over to me? I'm like, dude, it's not going to be worth the weight of the paper that it's on. Like, you might as well just use it to light a fire, because it's not going to be worth anything, right? Like, I got to then It's not about it's not about the script itself. It's about the deeper understanding of this. So like with my workout clients, I'm like, look, dude, like you need to know how to execute on the movements properly. Like you got to make sure that you're executing on properly. You got to make sure that you got the right form. You're stimulating the muscle in the right way. You're resting in the right way. Got to make sure that we prevent injury. You got to make sure that you're breathing right. I mean, there's so many other important things. It's so much more nuanced than just, here's a script. Go out there and do this thing. If you don't understand the framework of the scripting, if you don't understand, how to deliver the scripts, the questions to ask, because too with scripts, and this is the reason why I personally don't use scripts, which I know sounds totally like a total oxymoron, if you will, because I deliver scripts to all my coaching clients and my agents, and we rely, like I have them going off of scripts. But that's just so they have a guiding place. But then I make sure that they understand all this other stuff that I'm going to break down with you here. So then that way they know, because like any script that you're following is going to go off script very quickly, right? Otherwise, you're just going to sound like a telemarketing robot on the other end, and that's not going to, convert you, you're not going to 4X your results by doing that, right? All right. So with that being said, let's unpacking this a little bit earlier of, what to say, when to say it, how to say it. The questions to ask. Okay, so first thing is you must understand the consumer today. Got to understand who they are and what they want. This is different than the ideal client. Now we're getting to human behavior and human psychology. And just so you guys know, studying human behavior and human psychology has helped me in sales so much greater than studying sales ever has, right? Because so many of the sales stuff that we are taught, it's just outdated old bullshit that maybe worked years and years and years ago. But in today's, with how the consumer operates today, with the average person today, the information age that we are in, and the fact that people are more sensitive today than at any other time, at least in my lifetime or my experience, right? Like that shit just doesn't work. Like the quickest way to go piss somebody off is hard sell them. And if you want to have low conversions, okay, go out there and do that old school, hardcore, in your face, pushy sales tactic stuff. I'm telling you right now, it's not as effective. Doesn't work at a high level. You're going to piss people off. And then you can go out there and just work harder and do more dials and just be a freaking machine bull on the phone. But that's going to result in other, have other negative results, and you're probably going to hate doing it. I know I do. And everybody else that you're doing it to is going to hate it too, right? So, understand the consumer. So if we understand the consumer at a high level today, what does the consumer want today? In the information age that we are in, the consumer wants the information that they want and need to make their best informed decision, but they want to be able to do that in a safe, comfortable environment where they do not feel pushed, hassled, or sold. Let me repeat this because it's so fucking important. The consumer today wants the information that they want and need to make their best informed decision, but they want to do so in a comfortable environment where they're not pushed, pressured, sold, or hassled, right? So like I was at this college the other day. I won't name the name of the college, but I was at this college the other day for my son's volleyball tournament. So we're there, I'm walking around, dude, and there's like this safe room, right? And you see this shit in businesses too. Like, what is a safe room? Like, gotta have a place for people, because anxiety is so through the roof, and people today, whatever the reason is, and I've got my own theories about it. We're not gonna get into it on this podcast because that's not what this podcast is about. And like whether you like it, don't like it, it just is what it is. I'll tell you, some of the most sensitive people out there are in our industry. And you know what I mean. If you're recruiting agents, like, exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, it blows my mind how pissy, like it's much easier, and I get much less resistance trying to recruit a buyer or seller than agents. Like, agents are usually the softest softies, right? And I know not you, right? I'm just speaking to, in generalizations of our industry, but anyway, with that, it just is what it is. So I just need to understand it, and then I just give the consumer what they want. The more that we can understand how they want to be treated, how they want to receive information, how they want to make their decisions, right? The more that, because so much of this is, so much of sales is developing rapport, developing that connection, developing that likability, and being able to get them, like, in order for them to pay attention to us and listen to us and to know if we have the right solution for them, Well, like, we got to pull down their guard so they'll listen to us. Like, have you ever been in one of those situations where somebody's talking to you, but you're not actually listening? You're just thinking about how you're going to rebuttal what they are saying and what you're going to say back to what they're saying? That's passive listening, not active listening. I need my people to active listen to me. So this becomes really important. So we need to always be lowering their guard. So they have this resistance up, and when you get into anytime that they're going to start feeling like they're being pushed, pressured, hassled, or sold, that guard is going up, right? So then now they're going to get into what is called fight or flight mode, and they can't listen. They're not going to be able to think logically. They just shut down, right? In fight or flight mode, like we just shut down, kind of our logical portion of the brain shuts down, go back into the old kind of what's called the croc brain, if you will. I know that's what it's called. It's just, what I read in a book one time that somebody called it that. But in the oldest part of the brain, the croc brain, where fight or flight, happens. And then they're not listening, right? Then they're passive listening, and that's where the shit goes wrong, right? That's where they've already been shut down there. So let's just remove that from the equation altogether. Now, I call this pre-framing, and you may have heard this in my last podcast. I'm going to cover it slightly in this one. You can go back to my previous podcast, the last podcast I created about how to overcome real estate objections. I can't remember the exact title, but something around that. How to overcome real estate objections, right? So anyway, I call this pre-framing. And this becomes really important because if I need to get people to listen to me, I've got to make sure that they feel comfortable in order for them to listen to me. So this is why I've got my no pressure policy, very strict, absolute no pressure policy. I'm always telling people over and over and over because it's going to tell us saying it. But then in more important than that, it's going to take them having enough experiences with us over time, especially with like lead follow-up, like, longer term nurture leads where they're like, well, shit, man, this is, I've had multiple experiences with this guy and he hasn't actually sold me. Right? Like then they start really feeling comfortable, right? That comfort is huge. I want you just to think about that. Got to give the consumer what they want, and we already walked through what they want today. So we got to lower that guard. We got to remove that resistance, right? So this is what pre-framing does, right? So before I ask questions, it's, hey, I want to ask you a question, but before I do, just a reminder, I've got a very strict, absolute no pressure policy inside my organization. So you never have to worry about being pushed, pressured, or sold. The reason that I'm asking this is in order for me to serve and support you at the highest possible level, I got to have extreme clarity on what your real estate goals are, what your expectations are, what your timelines are. So I need to ask this question again in order for me to serve and support you at the highest possible level. So I'm always just pre-framing things to lower that guard, making them feel comfortable. So an example, when I reach out to a FSBO, like one of our strategies that we do is open houses on FSBOs, which we end up listing 38% of those that we do the open houses on, plus we get the success of the open house. If I'm going to do open houses, it just makes sense to go out there and do those because I'm doing the open house anyways, but when I reach out to the FSBOs about that, right out of the gate, once I know I'm talking to the right person, right out of the gate, I identify who I am, Joshua Smith, XYZ Real Estate. But then from there, I go right into this pre-framing to lower their guard. Go right into, hey, just so you know, this is not a sales call. I know you are getting bombarded with other real estate agents blowing up your phone, asking you and begging you for your listing. And I just want you to know that this is not a sales call. At no time during this conversation or at any time during our relationship and experience together will I ever ask you for your listing, will I ever ask you for a commission, or will I ever ask you for a penny. I've actually got a win-win proposition that I'd like to run by you just in case it's something that you want to do, something that works for you. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Just let me know if it doesn't work for you. That's okay too. I just want to run it by you in case it's something that works well for you, because a lot of our for sale by owners are having a lot of success that we are partnering up with on this proposition. Right. And then I just go in. So I'm just lowering again, again, if they feel threatened, they're not going to listen. Right. So you can see there what I've done is I've let them know this isn't a sales call. But then from there, what else did I do? Right. I gave them an out. Right. So I do that. We have another FSBO strategy. That's not an open house strategy. That's slaying it right now in today's market. But before we call them, before we hit them with the offer, the pitch, we do something very similar to that one. It's just, hey, got a proposition that I want to run by you. Now, it may be something that works for you. It may be something that doesn't work for you. And if not, that's okay. Just let me know. But I just want to run it by in case it's something that you might have interest in. So I've already given them an out. I've already let them know that, hey, it doesn't matter. Like when I'm recruiting agents, I just let them know that, hey, we've got a very strict no pressure policy inside of our organization. So, during this meeting is just to make sure that you have all the information that you need to make sure all your questions are answered for you to make your best decision on whether we're a fit for you or not. And if we are, great. If not, that's okay too. Like, look, you can not join us and we can still be friends, and there's no pressure. So whichever path that you go, either one's okay. Right? So I'm just letting them know, right? So, and this isn't just for sales calls right out the gate. This, applies to follow-up calls. This also applies to setting appointments, confirming appointments, even, pre-framing, even when I'm conducting those appointments, like a buyer consultation, an example, when I get into, the first stage of my buyer consultation, which is the dream home form, I'd let them know that, hey, the only way for me to serve and support at the highest possible level, helping you accomplish your real estate goals, is I got to get extreme clarity on what your overall goals are, what your timelines are, what your expectations are. I won't speak this fast. I'm doing this for the podcast, just to get this stuff out for time for you guys. I'll slow this stuff down when I'm speaking to people. You don't want to talk too fast, right? Like I made that mistake early on because I'm usually a excited human being. And I've had people that have just freaked out. Like you want to go, a good pacing, and pacing is important. So anyway, in order for me to serve support you at the highest possible level, I got to have extreme clarity on what your timeline, your expectations are. The only way for me to do that is ask you a lot of questions. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. There's no right or wrong. Look, I'm here to serve support and help you, regardless of what your goals are, regardless of what your timeline is, expectation. But again, for me to help you at the highest level through this process, I got to know, what's going on. Again, what your goals are, timelines, expectations are. So that allows me to identify all the things that's most important to them in a home, and why those things are important to them. That's the most important part, not just what they want, why they want it, why it's important to them, right? So then from there, like my last two questions on the dream home form are, okay, hey, if we could time this out perfectly, not saying that we always can, but if we could time this out perfectly, in a perfect world, when would you be sticking the key into the front door of your new home, opening up this front door for the first time and moving your belongings in? And then I follow up another question with, okay, if we could find this home today, if we found your dream home today that checked all these boxes, are you in a position where you're willing or able or wanting, to move forward and put an offer in on this today? So it gives me permission to ask them those questions because I pre-framed it correctly. Now, if they ever start giving resistance and they start shutting down, okay, I then jump in right away and I pre-frame and remind them to get them back to listen mode. So pre-framing becomes really important. Okay, so then from there, you must master the skill of selling the result, not the services. So we're selling the goal. We're always selling what is that they want. Sales is all about pain and pleasure. So in real estate, and again, whether it's buyers, sellers, or agent recruiting, people already sold in the fact that they want to buy real estate or sell real estate. People already sold in the fact that they want a career in real estate. Our job is to articulate we're the best guide to get them from where they're at to where they want to go. So speaking of buyers or sellers, right? It's like my job is to articulate that I'm the best guide to get them from the current living situation that they want to go to. In order to do that, the more that I understand that the pain that they're experiencing, because sales is all pain and pleasure. There's a pain going on with their current living situation, and they want to get out of that pain and get to pleasure, and the new living situation brings them that pleasure. My job is to ask the right questions in the right way, and I need to get them to open up to me. That's why that pre-framing, all those things that we've already talked about are so important, so then I can understand what that true pain and pleasure is. So then when I know that true pain and pleasure, as obstacles start coming up or roadblocks start coming up that are blocking us from getting them from where they're at to where they want to go, okay, I can identify those, remove those, keep that process moving forward. All right, so you must understand the skill set of problem solving and articulating that you are the best person to get them from where they're at to where they want to go. Kind of like I just talked about, right? Like problems are going to happen. Things are going to happen, right? You got to be able to identify those problems, right? You got to be able to unpack this stuff. And I'm going to give you an example with an expired here in a minute. And again, this applies to all lead sources, not just expireds, but because that was kind of what inspired me to create this podcast today, we're going to lead with that. Okay, so then from there, I'll go deeper into that one here with problem solving. But again, they want to get from where they're at to where they want to go. You need to identify what are the problems, what are the roadblocks that are blocking them from getting, and that these might be roadblocks in their head, or actual legitimate roadblocks like high interest rates, which is easy to overcome, or not easy, but there's very highly successful ways to overcome that right now, that are legitimate ways that actually solve the true problem, because it's not the actual interest rate that's the problem, it's the payment that's the problem. So we got to be able to identify those, and okay, what is the problem? Okay, let's solve that problem, right? Like, best salespeople are the best problem solvers. Okay, so then from there, you must master the ability to identify timeline and psychology per lead source. So timeline is the average length of time that lead is from lead inception till becoming a client, becoming a closing. So we got to know what the timeline is, and I'm going to give examples of this here more in a minute. So I know I'm going kind of quick here, but timeline, and each lead source has different timelines and different psychology for the most part, right? Google pay-per-click and Facebook pay-per-click might be some the same essentially, but a FSBO is vastly different than expired. A Zillow lead is different than a Facebook lead. Facebook lead is different than open house lead, and so forth, right? So we got to identify timeline and psychology. So timeline then lets us know how long we must follow up and how frequent we must follow up, understanding the psychology that leads. The psychology is what's going on in their mind. The more that we can understand them, the more that we understand the pain and the pleasure that they're going through, the more that we understand what's taking place in their mind right now, the more powerful our messaging can be, so we can meet them where they're at. One way to show them that you care about them, to get them to believe that you care about them, right? To develop that connection, rapport, and whatnot, is to show them that you understand them, right? So psychology then allows us to know, okay, so timeline is how long we're messaging and how frequent we're messaging. Psychology is, what is that messaging? Like this is where, how do I craft the right script? How do I craft the right questions? How do I even, it's going to be different too. When I'm speaking to an investor that's super busy, that has a big property portfolio, well, how I'm speaking to that person, and even my tone and whatever, is going to be way different than somebody that is in default status, that is embarrassed, that's ashamed, that's pissed off, that's flustered, that's overwhelmed. I got to lead in that situation with a lot of empathy, a lot of understanding, right? Becomes totally different. How I speak to a new agent when I recruit them is different than, a top producing agent or a top team leader that I'm trying to recruit, right? We got to understand that stuff. Okay, so as we start I want to break this down in an example, and I'm going to use expireds as the example here, but again, this applies to all lead sources. So I'm just using this as this example. So when we look at expires, and these are what Brandon nailed to get 4x the results of the average agents, and to deploy this new strategy in one day and get better results than he's ever gotten. And one thing I didn't say is this is a dude that's been attacking expires for a long time. This isn't just some new agent that just jumped in the industry. We just tweaked a couple things, and all of a sudden, boom, best results, right? Okay. So when we start looking at this, okay, number one, he identified a lead source, right? Meaning a niche that needs to sell. So a great niche for the market, right? So he identified that. People that have raised their hand, like this is a market of needs, not wants, in the market that we're in right now. So I'm not going to circle prospect right now in this market. I'm not going to go out there and probably, unless I already had a highly established geo farm, I'm not going to start a new geo farm where I'm doing direct mail in this market. Again, this is more, turnover rate's so low right now, transaction volume's low. I need to identify and be laser focused at who needs to buy, who needs to sell in this marketplace. Number one, he identified a winning niche for this given market. Number two, he understands timeline. He understands that timeline. Okay, 90% of expireds do not relist in the first 3 months. Only 10% do. What do most agents do? They just start pounding them right out of the gate. They pound them right out of the gate day one, and maybe in that first week, and then they never follow up with them after that. Like, you're going after the smallest percentage. I'm not saying they could not go after them day one, but that's most saturated. If you saw what Brandon said, 7+ day old expireds. So, and I don't know this for sure. I'd have to have a follow-up conversation with Brandon deeper on this. I just saw this post, but for me, okay, if I'm going to go after 7 days to 2 years, okay, number one, I know that I'm not going to have any of those, that tiny little percent that relisted would have already relisted with those agents right there. I know that I have lesser competition now, and whatever. And I'm not saying to not call day one. I call day one, or I send out my letters on day one, but we got to understand that frequency. So if I'm hitting expires, it's going to be day one, then every 21 days for the first 6 months, then every 6 months for 2 years, whether I'm calling, whether I'm sending my letters. I've got a letter that highly converts really well. So whichever one that you prefer, is highly effective. Okay. So he understands timeline. Then psychology. What's the psychology of an expired? Okay. They had real estate goals. They had real estate goals that, sorry, my video I thought was freezing up on me. So they had real estate goals that were not met, that they were excited about, but their real estate goals were unmet. So now they're kind of got a bad experience, and that their overall experience is tainted by that. And so the gut punch right there. So that's gut punch number one, is they had these goals they were excited about that were unmet. Gut punch number two is their home was just rejected by the marketplace. Right? So they got this home that's important to them, that they think is beautiful. Now they just got gut punched for a second time because their home just got rejected from the marketplace. Buyer said, we don't want your home, right? Number three, they just had a bad experience with a real estate agent. Even if it's not the real estate agent's fault, in their mind, this agent told them that they could get the job done, didn't get it done. So that's a triple whammy gut punch. So what is my messaging going to be to them throughout everything? And this is why, scripts are okay because they give you something to start with. But then again, you're going to go off script very heavily. So this is what's important is okay, everything throughout my conversation and my questioning with them and everything that I'm doing with them is to articulate and let them know that, hey, you got a beautiful home and your home wasn't the fault. Your home wasn't the issue. So like with the script that I gave Brandon, and I got a bunch of expired scripts, right? So that work really well. This is just one of them that I gave him. Is hey, just out of curiosity, I'm looking on the MLS right now, and I noticed that your home just expired. You had it up for sale, and for whatever reason it didn't sell. I'm looking at all the information. I'm looking at your photos, and man, you got a beautiful home. I'm just curious, why do you think your home didn't sell? And then they just start opening up. Right? Like, what did I just tell? And then my expired letter, dude, I got a picture of their home, front of the home, and the very top of the letter. First thing that they see is a saying that says, sometimes even the finest of homes do not always sell. Right? So through all my messaging, I'm letting them know that, hey, your home isn't the problem. Your real estate goals can still 100% be met. The issue was, unfortunately, you made the wrong decision with hiring the wrong real estate agent. Right? But the good news is, I'm the right guy, right? So I'm articulate, but I need to get them next re-excited about their goals, right? In order to get them re-excited about them, I got to understand what their goals are. So we're asking questions like, why were you selling your home in the first place? Where were you looking at going? What's bringing you there? Why do you want to move there? There's I want to get to know all of this stuff. Right? Well, hey, if there was a way that, we could, still make that a reality, is that something that, you'd have some interest in doing? Right? And then from there, okay, so understanding psychology, right? Okay, then from there, the next phase of this is problem solving, identifying these problems, right? Because right now, what you may hear a lot of on all listing sources, as well as on buyers too, of course on buyers, but common objection that you're going to hear with expireds is, yeah, we want to sell, but we can't right now because of interest rates. Interest rates are too high. Okay, yeah, I totally get that. I totally understand that these interest rates are so crazy. Payments are so high. I never thought I'd see this. I've been in the industry for 18 years, and I never thought I would see, the unaffordability that we're experiencing right now. So I totally get where you're coming from. I understand that. If you listen to my objection handling, I'm not going to go into objection handling framework right now because I just did that in the last video. Actually, what I'll do is I'll link that to the end of this video. So you can, because I'm going through my feel, felt, found objection handling framework, which is important to know and skill set to have in order to go crush it at sales and convert at a high level. So I'll link that to this video if you want to go out there and check that. But I'm creating that. I'm not telling them that, oh, well, historically interest rates are not low. Oh, well, you could just refi. No, they're not. Nobody gives a shit about what the interest rate is. Nobody gives a shit. That's just a number with a percentage, 8%, 7%, 6%, 3%, 20%. That's just a fucking number. That doesn't matter. What matters and what they're truly saying is, hey, the payment is out of my affordability range. Either I can't afford it or it stretches me too much or I'm too uncomfortable to afford it. Right? That's what they're actually articulating. So then, okay, now, so this is where I'm going to that feel, felt, found, framework. So, interest rate. So I'm relating with them. Hey, I totally get that. Totally understand that. Right? What I'm doing is I'm lowering their guard. I'm creating that likability, that relatability. You want to be with them, never against them. Then from there, right, I can transition into something like this. Again, after I've done what I just did, right? Hey, I totally get it, totally understand. Yeah, I never thought I'd see, I've been selling real estate out here for X amount of years or whatever you want to say there, but, for me, I've been selling real estate out here since 2005 here in Phoenix. I never thought I'd see unaffordability like this and payments this high. And it's just mind blowing, man. It's so hard for so many people. And so I totally understand, right? So that's where I'm going to lead with, then from there, I'm going to go into, hey, just out of curiosity, if there was a way that we could get your home sold for top dollar, and you could have the money for the down payment and to go out there and buy the home that you wanted to buy. But at the same time, we were able to figure out a way of getting that payment on your new property down to what you are comfortable with paying. Like if that was a possibility. Now, I'm not going to sit here and promise you that it is, because I don't know for sure, right? But I'm not one to ever give up on a client. So I'll do everything I possibly can to go to the drawing board and see what's possible. And again, I don't want to promise anything. I don't want to make any false promises here. But if this is a possibility, is that something that you still have some interest in? If we could make this move a reality for you and all the stars align with, being able to make this move and get your payments in that comfortable range, is that something that you would still want to do? And then boom, dude, unless they were just using that that was just a shallow objection handler, which very rarely it is. They're like, well, hell yeah, but how's that going to be a reality? Right? Then I can go into education mode. But first I want to find out if they can, because like a lot of people don't realize, and I'm not going to put them personally in some, I know there's always, rate buy down or these different loan products and these arms out there. I just in case, I don't want to put them potentially in a worser situation. So, I'm not going to, necessarily suggest that out of the gate. I mean, they can get educated on that with the lender and make their own decision on that, but I'll definitely let them know the negative repercussions of that, because I've seen people get destroyed by arms. So then from there though, like, dude, okay, like if we can get that equity out of their property and they're doing a conventional loan, we have enough equity left over for a significant enough rate buy down. If I can get a 9% seller concession or a significant seller concession from the seller that we can also apply to that rate buy down, hey, look, maybe we can make this a reality. And we are making this a reality for a lot of our buyers and a lot of our seller clients right now in this market, but we're having to be great problem solvers. So these are examples of problem solvers. Like when people tell you no, and this is the reason that they can't move forward, okay, well, and I'm not going to combat them with that. Right? That's where I'm going into. Okay, well, I want to understand why that obstacle is coming up and then see if I can take that down. But remember, we got to always be lowering their guard, just like in that example that I gave you, through that. So, got to identify the right niche. So you got to identify the right niche. You got to know the right timeline. You got to know the right psychology. Got to go out there and problem solve. This will allow you to know how long, how frequent, and then what conversations to know, what to say, how to say it, the right questions to ask. And this is how you go out there. And I know I've shared a lot with you, but this is how you go out there and 4X your skill set so you can get 4X the results in the same amount of effort and energy that you're getting right now. It's all 100% possible. And look, yeah, it takes time, but it takes a hell of a lot less time than you think. And I can tell you what it takes a hell of a lot less time than is experiencing all the resistance and the pain that you're experiencing right now. So I always look at it like you can go down like the path of, okay, just beating your head against a wall every single day. Or like, okay, I can go out there and spend an hour a day, 2 hours a day, like with lead gen and lead conversion is pretty easy. There's other things that take a little bit longer time to master in this business, like, how to go out there and, scale a team or scale a brokerage and how to go out there and hire the right people and becoming a great leader. But when it comes to sales, this shit is pretty damn fast to master. I mean, whether it's agents on my team or agents in my coaching program, usually I can turn around their results and get them, 2, 3, 4Xing their results in the first, like within less than 90 days. Now, I'm not saying 90 days that they're 4Xing their income or 3Xing or 2Xing their income. I'm talking about, being on the run rate where there's, the appointments, because as you guys know in this business, our results today, like with Brandon, those 4 appointments that he just set, well, now he's got to conduct them. Now he's got to go list them. And let's just say he converts, 3 of the 4. Well, then, it could be, 90 days from today until he sees the actual commission checks from those 3 properties. And in his, market, in Texas, okay, that might be, but dude, like, okay, 30 grand with it. And that would be at a low end of what his average commission is, for one day of work, from, the sales aspect. Now he's got to nurture it. To me, that's a good day. Yeah. Right. But you can repeat that every day, right? Like if you want to, not everybody does, so anyway, this stuff is possible, but yeah, you got to take the time to master the skill sets, or you can go the other path. You can go the other path of just, okay, I'm going to try to work 4 times harder. I'm not going to increase my skill set. I'm just going to work 4 times as many hours, 4 times as harder, and go down the burnout, frustration. I mean, the choice is yours, right? Either way, it's going to take work. The mastering the skill set is going to take a hell of a lot less work to master them, less work to go out there and deploy them, overall, but that choice is yours. All right. So lastly here, if you are looking to go out there and truly master the skills that are required to crush it in this real estate business and to build the real estate business of your dreams. This is why I built my Mastery Bootcamp coaching program. So I highly encourage you to go to gsdmode.com, click on that coaching button, or I think at the top on gsdmode.com, if you just go to the top, there's a banner where you can schedule a 100% zero pressure discovery call with me personally. So it's going to be an hour call with you and I. I've got a very strict absolute no pressure policy. I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to tell you to whip out your credit card and sign up. That's not how I roll, right? We're going to talk about your business. We're going to talk about where your business is at, where you want to go, the biggest problems that you have. And yeah, I'm going to spend a few minutes of that conversation walking you through what my coaching program entails, answering any questions that you have, and seeing if it's something that's a fit for you. Look, it might be, it may not be. Maybe something I might be able to help you solve the problems that you have. I may not be able to, and I'll be upfront and honest with that, but it's up to you to make your own best decision from there. But again, gsdmode.com, click that button, schedule your 100% zero pressure discovery call with me personally. I will ensure and make sure that it's a powerful call for you, regardless whether you move forward with my coaching program or not. All right, guys, I truly appreciate you watching and listening. I hope that this was helpful. Keep crushing it, keep kicking ass, and I will see you next time. Peace.